Viewers, welcome to TV Metro Mail. You're watching Catch Up, and I am Emamul Haque, your host. Today, I am delighted to welcome my today's guest. She is a young politician. She is a dedicated community member. She is an active social worker as well. But most importantly, at this time, she is the candidate for the Scarborough Southwest in upcoming by-election. So please join me welcoming Fatima Shaban. Welcome to our show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Let us start with your campaign. You are NDP's candidate for the upcoming by-election. So you must be busy with your campaign. So how has it been going so far?
It has been going absolutely fantastic. This by-election is extremely important because the federal government only needs 2 seats to get a majority. So Scarborough Southwest is one of the deciding ridings. So we have a lot of people coming out to help, and a lot of volunteers, and we need more. So if you want to volunteer, please reach out to us. But it's absolutely amazing to have all this energy and people wanting to get involved in politics because it affects all of us. So yeah, it has been fantastic.
Okay, great to know that. So if I just ask you, or why do you want to represent Scarborough Southwest?
Well, a great first question. I can tell you that the reason why I want to represent Scarborough Southwest, because this community is not just where I live. I have grew up here, and right now I am raising my children here. I fully understand the challenges that people here in Scarborough Southwest are dealing with. I am a young mom, and I came to this country when I was 14 years old with my mom. And we moved to Scarborough Southwest. We moved to the Teasdale buildings. I think a lot of people here are familiar with. And then a few years later, we moved to Pharmacy, which is where we live now. And I still live here all this time. And I love the community. Unfortunately, my mom, who was my only family in Canada, passed away 3 years ago. And this has pushed me even further to deepen my connection to my community. I don't have a family in Canada, but my community is my family, and having this deep connection with my community, it just pushes me to fight for them, to speak up for them, to highlight the issues that we are facing, and to be loyal to them. So I think that that is why I want to represent Scarborough Southwest.
Okay, great. So you have just shared that how you got engaged with the community. That's good. But what perspective or what experience specifically you have brought to this community, so which can distinguishes you from the other candidates?
Of course. So, what distinguishes me is that my perspective is shaped by the lived experience across many of the issues that are supposed to be governed by the federal government. So, for example, I came to Canada as a teenager, but my immigration journey, it has not been the typical immigration journey. I came from Slovakia. My father is Egyptian. I come from a multi cultural, but also multi religious background, so I can connect to different people across, to Muslims, to Christians, to people of all faiths and um, you know backgrounds. So when I came to this country, I was actually, me and my mom were denied asylum. So we were failed refugee claimants, and it was incredibly difficult. I have faced deportation several times. People fall through cracks through our system all the time. I have worked with undocumented people here in Canada. They are living in a shadow of our society. People that were brought here as children, unable to build a life for themselves, unable to be productive members of our society. I think that we need to patch up these holes that people fall through. I have been affected by the long healthcare wait times. My mom, she was diagnosed with a very aggressive and rare cancer, and because of the long wait times here in Canada, she eventually succumbed to her disease. this was my only family in Canada. I have been deeply affected by this, and that's what fuels me to be an advocate. And I hear these stories in our community every day. I am. I've served as as a treasurer on my son's school council in Regent Heights Public School, and seeing how underfunded the schools are. They need a wraparound funding. So having these experiences at everywhere I go in life, I think it puts me in a very special position, and a great position to advocate for our riding. Yeah, we could be here all day, but I also have educational background in political science, history, economy, understanding our political systems, and of course, and I also have a major in criminology and socio-legal studies. So I think that my educational but also personal work background has prepared me for this very well.
Thank you very much, Fatima. And sorry to hear about your mother's story. So, you have brought the issue of immigration. Scarborough, the riding which you are planning to represent, is one of the very diverse community, and many internationally trained professionals are here, and they are struggling in recognizing their credentials in many ways, and there are some other challenges. So what change do you see, or do you like to support, or you like to address to resolve that issue?
Absolutely, this is issue that has been largely neglected by the government for so long. We see that many skilled workers come to Canada, but they are unable to have their credentials verified and to work in the same field. It's a very long process, and people need to start working and start supporting their families. So a lot of people cannot even go through that process. I would support a more coordinated national approach to credential recognition, working with provinces and regulatory bodies to make process faster and more transparent and more affordable, so that we can get people working. You know, how they were in the fields that they were trained. I mean, whether you agree that we should bring more people in or not, I think that once people are here, we need to make sure that we are able to integrate them and that they can be successful members of our society. So I am really surprised that more hasn't been done already, because I think that people across all political spectrums should support this.
So you are saying that we haven't done, or the our government or our system has not done enough to address the issue. So what is the potential reason for that? What do you think? What is your take on that?
To be honest, I'm not sure, but we need to invest more in like bridging programs, providing paid placements so that people can gain Canadian experience, and ensuring that internationally trained professionals aren't forced into survival jobs while they wait. We see this happening all the time. I think it is because also our colleges, our universities are underfunded. I think it really is making sure that we prioritize this, because our funding is going elsewhere, and I think that we need advocates for this, right? We need people that are from the community that can speak for the realities that people are facing here. And the NDP has a good track record to always fight for the 99%, to always to stand up for the little guy. I mean, I would say that we have been the most effective in the last term, even though we were not part of the government, right? The NDP has fought for affordable childcare, pharmacare, dental care, and these things came into reality. The NDP is the party that fought for universal health care, yet maybe we don't have the best marketing because we failed to take credit for all these successes. These are the things that people in our community desperately need and are able to take advantage of. I have a daughter in daycare, and I was able to go back to workforce because of the affordable daycare. So yeah, I think it takes having people from our communities that understand these issues and that they can highlight them and push our government to prioritize them.
Okay. Thank you, Fatima. I'd like to ask you one thing which was not in my bucket, here, but since you mentioned one, sentence, one word, which is Canadian experience. So I would like to know what is Canadian experience exactly, and just to help you out to get going. That say, for example, a doctor from England, he or she is practicing there for 10 years, 12 years. So does she qualify enough to come to Canada and start working, or she needs a Canadian experience?
You mean Canadian working experience?
That's what, because sometimes many people they say that this is kind of excuse. When a internationally trained professional they are here in Canada, say for example, she or that particular person is from UK or any developed countries, so called, if we say it, even then we keep them away from the system with the excuse that you do not have enough Canadian experience. What experience do we mean by that?
I think you touch on a very important topic, and I think this is an area where we can definitely improve. As you said, if someone is, trained and practicing in the UK or another, developed country, or um, country where our regulatory body would be satisfied that they provide, a good level of care, that their education is sufficient. I think that this process should absolutely be streamlined, and perhaps expedited. So someone who was practicing in Europe or UK or anywhere else would shouldn't really have to wait any longer to get into the workforce here in Canada. So I would be definitely for expediting the service as soon as possible, of course.
Okay, okay, thank you very much. While I was introducing you, I said that you are a young Canadian politician. So, being a politician, being a social worker, you must be aware of the issue which is affecting our youth, our young generation. So, what are the major issues or challenges they are facing, and what would be your policy or your party's policy to address those or to create better opportunities for our young people?
Of course, I think when we're talking about young people, we're talking about students, we're talking about young families. So this is definitely a question that encompasses a lot of issues. We can start by talking about housing. I mean, students need stable housing, and the same thing goes for families, right? Right now, the Liberal government is talking about just building more, building by providing contracts to private companies. I don't think that this will solve the problem. For one, they already had 1 year to do it. There is a very little that has been done other than setting up an infrastructure and some early planning. We need quick response, right? Like, people are struggling. I live in an apartment building where we have very few 3 bedroom units. The other apartment buildings have only 1 or 2 bedroom units, yet people are paying over $2,000 for rent for one apartment, for 1 bedroom unit. People are struggling severely when it comes to students. Look what's happening with OSAP. We cannot not talk about what has been happening in the provincial politics as well, because OSAP is not only provincial, it's also federal. So if I was in Ottawa, I would of course push the federal government to do more for students, and this would benefit students in all provinces, not just here in Ontario. So increase grants, making sure that people have the stability to continue their education. This is our future. This is it's a wise investment. Moving forward, going back to housing, with the current plan, the Liberal plan is to just build more. Well, if this is going to do anything, it's just going to devalue the homes that people have also worked very hard for. Like, there's people that bought, you know, there are homes that are $1.5 million homes. Well, they're just going to, with the increased supply, they're going to devalue them to 1.2, 1.1 million, right? The
Yeah,
people that need affordable housing, the people in my community, people here in Scarborough Southwest, they need affordable housing. Are these homes going to be affordable? Nobody can say that. We need, family size units. Like, if I show you, in when I am downstairs and picking up my son, we have families that are, five, six members of a family, and they are living in our building. And as I said, we only have one and two bedroom units. That means that you have a family of five, family of six, stuck in 1 to 2 bedroom apartments. These are our realities. We need solutions right now, and we need them in our communities. We need affordable housing. We need co-ops. We need to make sure that people are not being like the rents aren't increasing. We need strong rent protections. I fought against an AGI, which is an above guideline rent increase, where our renter was able to basically renovate the building and say that this was a necessity and pass the cost back to tenants. We were actually asked to pay retroactively, so some people were on the hook for $2,500, and this is money that people don't have. Like, I am from a very a neighborhood that has been underserved, and so we need that representation. We need more housing, and we need to make sure that, most importantly, this is affordable housing. And I don't see that the current government has a plan for affordable housing. It's only build, build, build more, but we need to make sure that this housing is for everyone, and especially for the people that need it.
I think any politician they talk about the affordable housing. Before any election, we hear a lot of noise about the affordable housing. So sometimes we get confused with the term affordable housing. So you mentioned that in one bedroom there are family members, 4 or 5 family members, they're staying there. So what exactly you or your political party is proposing to really make that affordable housing affordable?
Yes, of course. So I think to better understand this, we need to look at, how political parties across the political spectrums are approaching these type of problems. So, for example, as I said, the Liberal government, they're saying, well, we're going to build more, but they're going to give these projects to private companies, whereas the NDP, we push for publicly owned housing. So homes that will be built on public land, that will be publicly owned, so that private companies cannot keep raising rents, strong rent protections. So I am only able to I'm unable to move from my 1 bedroom apartment when I am raising my 2 kids, because I am living under rent control. And I am very lucky to do that. A lot of people do not have this opportunity, and that is why people aren't able to even move out of their apartments, because they are they cannot afford to pay market rent. But right now, for example, we have 100,000, over 100,000 condos in the market, yet we don't have any laws that would be regulating this, and the rents are not going down. So we need to make sure that you know the market isn't doing what it's supposed to do at this time. We need to have strong government regulation, so that we can allocate the housing where it needs to be, right? Why do we have over 100,000 condos on the open market, yet we have a 15-year wait list for TCH, Toronto housing? So we need to connect these two, and that needs to be by regulation, by protections coming from the government. We need a government to do a strong investment, like in the 50s. We have a lot of these homes around Scarborough Southwest were built by federal government. So we need to make sure, because housing is a right, we need to stop treating it as an investment. And that is what the NDP is about, making sure that the services and like basic dignities, like housing, like healthcare, are that they are operated and partially the responsibility of the government.
Okay, okay, great. So the affordable housing or any other development issue that is linked with the economic growth. And when we talk about our improving the quality of life, being a politician or social worker, we all try to address or try to improve the quality of life of the general people. uh, Same with you. So when we talk about that, so economic growth is very important. So what do you think, that what industries do you think that Canada should prioritize to for economic growth in the coming decades, so that can help us?
Absolutely. So, I believe in investing, for example, in green economy, renewable energy, efficient infrastructure, and clean jobs. So, as we move into a more sustainable solutions, environmentally friendly solutions, we need to make sure that people are able to access jobs in this area. We should also strengthen our healthcare, so investing more in a care economy, so that we have more nurses hired, and healthcare workers. Invest supporting skilled trades and advanced manufacturing is also key, especially as we build more housing. Like, we need to build houses. The government has set a money aside for this. Get people going. This can create a lot of jobs and can be definitely an economy boost. We want to be our government wants to focus on investing in small businesses, innovation, so that newcomers will help ensure growth is more, and also making sure that growth is more inclusive across all sectors and for all people.
Welcome to N. Jahan Legal Professional Corporation. At N. Jahan Legal Professional Corporation, we take the time to understand your concerns and find the best possible path going forward.
কানাডা থেকে বাংলা ভাষায় সত্য ও সচেতনতার কথা।
The world of not-for-profit.
নারীর অংশগ্রহণ,
What Bangladesh has done.
ক্রিমিনাল জাস্টিস সিস্টেম,
সমাজে কি ঘটছে, কেন ঘটছে, আমাদের করণীয়ই বা কি?
শিল্পী গড়ে তুলতে হবে আমাদের।
একটা বহুপাক্ষিক
Saturday morning
ছোট্ট একটা যে
মানুষ চিন্তা করুক,
যে আল্লাহ রসুলের কথা
প্রশ্ন করুক,
এই সম্পর্কটা
উত্তর খুঁজুক।
ভারতের প্রতি
বাংলাদেশে যা ঘটেছে,
আসামি এটা কনটেস্ট করেন ঘাতক দলাল নির্মূল কমিটি।
আপনার প্রশ্ন, আপনার মতামত সবই আমাদের আলোচনার
that I
বিষয়।
shouldn't have done as a community member.
So what have you done?
ধৈর্য ধরা দেন।
বিষয়টা আমরা আলোচনা করি।
Recognize like that.
টিভি মেট্রো মেইল, আমাদের ইউটিউব সাবস্ক্রাইব করুন, বেল আইকন ক্লিক করে ফেসবুক পেজে লাইক দিয়ে আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকুন। ভালো থাকুন। You mentioned about renewable solution and growth. So when we try to address those things, many people, many citizens, they talk about the climate change, and unfortunately we do not, many of us, we do not understand by the word climate change, or particularly how that is going to impact us negatively in coming days, and what the government, the Canada, should do, striking the balance between the these climate change issues and their economic growth, or what their responsibility should be to continue or sustain an economic growth that we all expected.
Absolutely. I think this is I definitely agree that people can get almost like disconnected from the climate change question if you don't fully understand how climate change affects us all. But really, if we don't have a clean air, and if we don't have, food that is healthy, and if we aren't doing enough to make sure that our environment is safe and sustainable, then this is going to affect us negatively. And I don't think anything else matters if we don't have a clean air. So these are scientifically supported solutions. So I believe that Canada should invest in green economy, renewable energy, clean technology. So what this really means is that, for example, we need to transition so that workers from traditional industries are supported with retraining and real opportunities. I think a lot of people think, well, if we stop relying so much on fossil fuels and in jobs that are quote unquote harmful to our environment, people are going to lose jobs. But I think that creating more jobs in a green economy is going to will really solve that concern, or solve that problem. Even practical steps like expanding our public transit, improving home energy efficiency, making greener choices more affordable are are also important. So, for example, here in Scarborough, public transit is a huge issue. We have some of the worst commute times in the city. When you look at what happened with the RT, RT was a reliable way for us to get across Scarborough. We would go from, I live close to Victoria Park Station. If I wanted to meet my friends in STC, I didn't need to use my car. I could just get on the subway, go to Kennedy, from there go to Scarborough Town Center or anywhere you needed to be. Let's say if you wanted to go to Service Canada, a lot of people go to Service Canada in STC. Now, if you want to go to Scarborough Town Center, you need to have a car. The bus ride to Scarborough Town Center, it takes you, maybe you can get to Ottawa in the same time. It is so inefficient, right? And if we use public transit, this is better for everyone. It's better for congestion in a city. It's better for our environment. So having solutions that are practical, right? Like, we are talking about climate change, but it really comes down to practical solutions that people benefit from every single day. The government neglected the RT for so long that it completely now is broken, is unable to use, and now we are stuck with having no solution at all, right? We don't want a situation with what happened to Metrolinx. Metrolinx took 14-15 years to build. We don't want that type of solution. We need to make sure that the government can fix this, and they can fix it at the at a reasonable speed, so that we have access to these things. So yeah, I think solutions like public transit are a part of climate change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems that we need to strike the balance between the environmental responsibility and economic growth, both
Yes, absolutely.
together. Okay, so with regard to that, let us talk about the global politics. Canada is a big country, definitely, and Canada is facing a changing global landscape right now. From current times perspective, the geopolitical tension and the economic uncertainty, what role Canada should play? What do you think? What is your take on that?
Yes, okay. I hope we have time, because I have very strong opinions about this. I think that Canada should play a principled and consistent role on the world stage. I think that we should be the leaders of, upholding human rights and international law. I don't think that this should be our priority, not getting involved in the war in Middle East. I think that people are getting a mixed message from our prime minister when he says, 1 week ago, he said, well, a few weeks ago, he said he had a very strong message in Davos, yet, a few days later, when Donald Trump has attacked Iran, he goes saying, well, we 100% support him. I think that people are getting a mixed messaging. And this is similar to, for example, a lot of the people in my community are supporters of, they don't want Canada to be complicit in the genocide against Palestinians. This is the truth, right? And people are very sensitive about this issue. And one of the platforms in the last election was the Vote Palestine platform, which was very popular. A lot of the liberal politicians have, put this in their social media, that they would support, arms embargo. And there were several points in that Vote Palestine platform. Yet when one of our MPs proposed a legislation was a few days ago, Bill C-233, which was to close the arms export loophole so that our weapons do not end up, going against the internet, causing genocide in other countries. They failed to support this. This is a clear break from what they promised to their constituents when they were voted in, right? We see the liberal government always has a very strong progressive platform, a lot of promises going into the election, and then nothing happens. And then again, the same promises. We see that with electoral reform and Justin Trudeau in 2015. A lot of people voted for him because they hope that we are going to have a more better electoral system. Yet this was completely abandoned. I think that people want politicians that follow through on their promises. I think that Canada needs to be a strong voice for diplomacy, for de-escalation, and multilateral cooperation. I think that we need to address, we have the prime minister talking about 5% of our GDP to be spent on military. I am sorry, but the crisis is at home. We need to address our healthcare, our housing. These are the ways that you make Canada strong, by focusing on ourselves, by focusing on making sure that our citizens have a safe and adequate place to live, that we have clean air, that we have affordable groceries. Like, I'm sorry, but flexing our military muscle with the United States, that is not going to get us anywhere, because they spend more than $1 trillion on military. I mean, you are throwing money into the fire by spending 5% of our GDP. It's absolutely ludicrous. We need to focus on Canada. I honestly feel that for the past more than a decade, the Liberal government has been staying in power by always focusing on the crisis outside of Canada. And then when it comes down to their 4 years is being finished, or their term is being finished, when people ask them, well, why haven't you done what you promised? They always say, well, we were in a crisis. Every time you see their commercial or you see their platform, it's unprecedented time, and they always make people scare. And you look what happened last year. People look at Mark Carney as like the responsible adult in the room. They trust him. They see him as someone who has this authority. So the whole country rallied behind them. We saw the NDP saw a lot of people that know that we have a great platform, but because they rallied behind him, we have lost a lot of support. I think that we're in a position where we also need to stand up and hold Mark Carney accountable, and making sure that he does what he needs to do and gets us out of this crisis right now. And that means by having more NDP MPs in the parliament. We don't think that people from under his umbrella can hold him accountable. We need to have a more variety in parliament. So yeah, going back, I think that Canada needs to uphold international law. I think that we need to be a leader. That's what I think. Sorry,
Okay.
I feel very strongly about this, so I hope I didn't go too much over you.
No, that's fine. That's fine, because we are now living in a very difficult situation globally. So we have many allies. So we have to strike balance between our allies, our partners, and our internal issues, and considering the global, critical time and issues. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. We'll touch upon two more things, and then we'll conclude. So you talked about, when you were saying, you answering my question, you were saying the lot of promises are being made by politicians, but unfortunately people don't see after the election, they don't see that on ground. So from that perspective, many citizens, they feel disconnected from the politics. They are discouraged to get engaged in the politics. So what do you how we can restore the public trust in that democratic institutions, because we need to engage our people, right?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. When politicians don't follow through on their promises, it breeds cynicism, right? People are thinking, well, why did I even vote for this person if they aren't following through? We need to make sure that we have high voter turnout. And one way I think to restore that is, for one, before you earn their votes, we need to earn people's trust. So one of my promises to my constituents is to hold town halls, and to make sure that people are across all political spectrums are heard. So meeting with them regularly, showing up for them, and also engaging with local organizations, schools, community leaders, because these people are like, these organizations understand people's realities. So for past over a decade, we had a Liberal minister here who was completely absent. I mean, I meet people at the door, and that is that we can almost all agree on this, that there was very little support, very little presence here. We need someone who is a fighter, who is going to speak to people, show up for them. We need local representation. And then that representation needs to bring those voices in Ottawa and fight for them consistently. And I think if people see that, if people see people showing up for them, a representative that shows up for them consistently, I think that will restore the trust and going forward.
Thank you very much, Fatima. And the last question. So, as you said that you would raise voice for the Scarborough Southwest and Ottawa. So, if you elected, how will you ensure that the voices of the Scarborough Southwest residents are heard in Ottawa?
Yeah, I think it's similar to the question before. It's basically, connecting with your voters, making sure that you understand their realities. I think being from the riding is very important. We have sometimes people that are not from the riding running in our current elections. Our last representative was from completely other side of Toronto, and I think that this isn't right. I think that we need to, as I said, hold regular town halls, get people to come in and say, guys, I want to listen to you, I want to hear, what's up, what's going on, and as I said, understanding people's realities, living among them, going to their events, showing up to schools, and different organizations, and fully understanding the challenges of our riding. And I think that is how we ensure that our voices in Ottawa are heard, and not being a backbencher and a yes man to your party. And I think that's important, because if you have someone who is under the governing party and they are just having to have to say yes, 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 well, no, we need someone who can stand up for the voices here, and isn't afraid to do so.
Thank you. The last issue, but not the least, many people, they feel disconnected with the politics, particularly the young people, those who are discouraged to engage in politics or feel disconnected. So, do you have any specific message for this young generation that they should be engaged in the political process?
Yes, absolutely. I think that sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry. Yes, I think that it is incredibly important that we get involved in politics, because it is how it is going to affect our lives, our future, our children's future. I see people that feel very strongly about issues, yet feel that their voices don't matter. That is absolutely untrue. No one is going to give you rights. The conservatives and the liberals both are focused on businesses, right? On privatization. And businesses have never given people their rights, right? Workers their rights. These are local movements and grassroots movements that have fought for workers' rights. When you go to work and when you get your sick days, when you get your time off, your vacation time, these were not given to us by businesses, by organizations. They were given to us by working, by people standing up, by people protesting, by people fighting for the right thing, right? When it comes to political issues that even across the world, when we see people standing up for against genocides, not just in Palestine, but genocides across the world, these matter. People politicians have to listen to you. Women's rights, I mean, it was not even a few decades ago where people couldn't even have a credit card. So when I talk to women, young people, do not ever give up your right. Whether you vote for me, whether you vote for anybody else, vote. Because when you don't vote, you are giving the other person, you are giving up your right. You're just giving it to someone else. And this by-election particularly is extremely important, because your votes count almost triple as much, right? We can have really our voices heard. By-elections usually have a low voter turnout. So if you care about these issues, then please show up and cast your vote on April the 13th, or even better, in the advance polls.
Thank you very much for your time, sharing your insight and thoughts with our viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Dear viewers, thank you very much for being with us. We will see you again in our next program with our new guest. Until then, please take care and stay well. Thank you.